Welcome back. In the previous lesson, we learned what CSS is and how it controls the appearance of our web page. Now it's time to write our very first CSS code. Before we begin styling our project, it's important to understand that there are three different ways to add CSS to an HTML document. These are Inline CSS, Internal CSS, and External CSS. We'll explore each one and understand which method is recommended for real-world web development. Before writing CSS, let's organize our project. We'll continue working with the same HTML project we built in the previous session. Once the project is open in the Visual Studio Code, start the live server again. As I started the live server. So now we are ready to begin. The first method is Inline CSS. Inline CSS meaning writing the CSS directly inside an HTML element using the style attribute. For example, here you can see the code magazine is in blue color. As you can see, when I press enter, the color automatically changes. Here the CSS is written directly inside the HTML tag. The browser immediately applies the style, turning the heading blue. Although this works perfectly, it is not recommended because mixing HTML and CSS together makes the code difficult to read, maintain, and reuse. In professional development, we almost never use inline CSS except for very specific situations. So let's go to the second method, that is internal CSS. Instead of writing styles inside HTML elements, we place them inside a style tag located in the head section. For example, we just create the style tag and inside this style tag, we have to take the selector as we discussed in our previous sessions. Just replacing this. Keeping it here. As you refresh, there is no change. For seeing this, I am just commenting it. When I refresh, as you see, the color changes to normal. You can see the change now. Here, CSS is separated from the HTML elements. The browser reads the CSS from the style tag and applies it to every matching element. This is much cleaner than inline CSS. However, when a project grows larger, placing hundreds of lines of CSS inside the HTML files becomes more difficult to manage. So, the third and most common used method is external CSS. Instead of placing CSS inside the HTML file, we create a completely separate file. That is nothing but style.css. We can put any name. Inside this file, we write our CSS. So we have to create a file. I'm just naming it as style.css. So it is same as here. I'm just copying. And pasting it here. As you can see, the color won't change because creating the file alone is enough. We must connect it to our HTML document. Inside the head section, we have to use the link element. That's nothing but link. That is our file name. style.css. As you can see, the color changes. Rel equal to stylesheet attribute tells the browser that the linked file contains CSS styles. Once this connection is made, all the styles from the external style.css file are automatically applied to the web page. This is called external CSS. This is the external CSS and it is the approach used in almost every professional website. External CSS provides several advantages. Keeping HTML clean and organized, making CSS reusable across multiple pages, makes large projects easier to maintain, allows team to work on HTML and CSS separately, improves readability and scalability. For these reasons, we'll use the external CSS throughout the rest of this course. So now that you understand these three different ways of adding CSS, we are ready to begin learning actual CSS properties. In the next lesson, we'll start styling text by changing colors, fonts, sizes, and other basic properties that we will begin transforming our HTML page into a professional looking website. I'll see you in the next lecture.